Good evening, each and every one of you. Hello, how's everybody doing? It is Tuesday, October 17th. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Welcome to autumn. Can you smell the pumpkin spice and 3-year-old Uggs in the air?
What's up, Nathan?
It's time for yet. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I just said what up. I just saw Nate.
Okay. My bad. My bad. I'm not used to being out front on this show, but welcome to this week's edition of Let's Talk Football, the Roundtable. My name is Mr. I almost gave y'all my karaoke government issue. I am Anthony. I am coming to you live from the 405, where the wind comes whipping down the plain all the way in the heart of Oklahoma City, where right now it is a cozy 59 degrees, which is, I love it because it got so hot. It got so hot this summer. People was mistaking me for Michael Blackson. That's how hot it was this summer. But it is very nice and cozy here in Oklahoma City. And I am here with my colleagues this evening, the lovely and talented Miss Tina Winter. Tina, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing really good. I mean, it's windy here in Chicago too. So both from windy cities.
It's supposed to be windy in Chicago. I don't know why it's windy in Oklahoma. It would be different if it was windy and it kept us cool. But there's a big difference in windy and cool and windy and hot. You know, it's 112 degrees outside and the wind is 172. That don't make no doggone sense.
Well, it's like that here in Chicago in the summer too. Like it just that humidity, all that stuff, oppressiveness, all of it. So
and as always,
I'm going with that.
That's a good segue right there. On this corner over here, this lovely lady, I had to point. There we go. Now it looks like I'm actually pointing at you. Y'all know her. Y'all love her. The originator of diversity with Delilah, Miss Delilah Crespo. How are you doing, dear?
Hey, everybody. I see all the questions coming in about Nick. We have fired him. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's gonna show. He's gonna be on First Take tomorrow with Shannon and Stephen A. Shannon and Skip / Stephen A.
Got rid of him.
No, he's dealing with a personal issue at the moment. He's with his family. They're okay, but send prayers. His brother has surgery. I won't share too many details because I don't like going too deep unless someone says it themselves. But someone in his family has surgery. And so just send your prayers, and that's why he's not with us this evening. But he will be back with us hopefully next Tuesday, okay? So there you go. That's where Nick is.
There you go. Y'all act like I can't drive the car. Y'all be quiet. I got a driver license. I got to drive. You want to see? I got my driver license right here. It's deep in my pocket, so I can't pull it out. But yes, Nick, we are all. You are in all of our thoughts, and all. I know it's an overused expression, but you are in all of our thoughts and prayers this evening, good sir. Do what you have to do. Take care of business. We will be here when you get back. I already introduced. I was getting ready to introduce myself again. I am always last. This is going to take some getting used to. Anyway, having said all of that, y'all know what we do. Y'all know what we came to do. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. You know the deal. referees, the people have saying, and the home of the brand. The plane flies over and you smell the diesel fuel. And some conspiracy theorist says, that was a UFO. And then what happens? The guys in the striped shirts come out and they perform the coin toss. Oh, y'all done messed up letting me drive the car tonight. I'm on one this evening. Well, tonight on the coin toss, we're going to talk about our team performances. And you know what? Last week was kind of decent. Didn't we have 2 out of 3 won last week? Was it? Because I know the Falcons won last week, and then the Bears won last week too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tina, we going to get you there, sweetheart. I don't know what got to happen, but we going to get you there.
Well, we beat the Bears already, so we got one.
Oh, shots. Pew, pew, shots fired. Oh, man. So
I mean, we played the Chiefs.
That's accurate.
We're going to lose.
No hate.
Touche. Well, I'm expecting a little bit of hate from, well, not a little hate, just a little good-natured ribbing from northeast of here, around about the Chesapeake Bay from our OG, our founder, since his left hand up. I can't hold it up no more. The Commanders beat my Falcons by a score of 24-16. And I cannot explain why, because statistically speaking, except for that 3 times that my quarterback threw the ball to the other team, Desmond Ritter threw for over 300 yards. He was 28 of 47 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, I mean, those interceptions may or may not have played into things, and I'm being completely facetious. I said it 2 weeks ago. The sooner we get rid of him, the better. I'm going to keep saying it until they get somebody, you know what? Zagnif Apparel getting ready to sell, get rid of Ritter. That's what we get ready to do. The offense was, aside from that, the offense was kind of anemic. I mean, looked like less than 100 yards rushing between Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, Desmond Ritter. I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson had 1 run for 0. Now, Drake London did come up big with 125 yards receiving. Kyle Pitts got himself a touchdown. Yay for him, stupid Florida Gator. And Jonnu Smith got himself a touchdown as well, but it was not enough to get the job done. So yeah, the Falcons are who we thought they were, although they are playing 500 ball, and the Falcons being at 500 after 6 games is kind of the equivalent of, I'm going to use the analogy again, being able to hit all the Cheerios in the bowl. They did a good job. So Tina, tell us about your beloved Broncos.
As I've said, I think I've said it multiple times every time we talk about this. It's Jekyll and Hyde football. 1 week, the defense is horrible, and Miami's scoring 70 on us, but our offense is okay. The next week, we're playing the Chiefs, and we hold them to less than 20 points. What the hell? Where'd that D come from? But all of that being said, and the offense couldn't find the door with the light on and the key in their hand in that game. So I can't explain it. The only thing I keep going to is what a lot of my friends and I have been saying is, one, we think it's part of it is coaching. Whatever Joe Lombardi is calling as the offensive coordinator, he sucks. And I can understand why the Chargers got rid of him. I just can't. I got nothing this week. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, the only thing I can hang my hat on is we didn't allow the Chargers to score more than 20 points. Our defense showed up, but we have hardly any pass rush. So it was interesting. And like with Ritter, there's like those pesky interceptions just kill you. There's a couple of balls that rustled through that I was like, why? Why'd you do that? You got a guy sitting out in the middle of your secondary just going like, throw the ball to me. And he did. So I'm the only thing I can come up with is at this point, they're just tanking so they can kick off whoever they want to kick off. And I think we're going to have a fire sale by the end of October. I'm hearing lots of rumors. Judy, few others are probably going to be on the block, and we'll see what happens. I can even see Russell being gone next year. I read an article this week that was actually talking about what the cap hit would actually be for him, and it actually makes more financial sense to get rid of him. It's crazy, and that's an $80 million cap hit over 2 years.
When you are in a position where it is better for you to just spend $80 million than to try and fix whatever's broken with the thing you spent the $80 million on, you got a problem.
Yeah, but I don't think it's all Russell. I maybe last week might have been, but I really think it's game. They're not scheming right for the teams they're playing. And that may be because of the personnel they have. Like, again, this is not Peyton's team. He didn't draft these guys. He's using what he has and what's been drafted. And like a discussion we've had in the past before, I really think the years that the Broncos were under the trust and a lot of that stuff really curtailed what they could do with the team. So I think there's like a decade of crap that it has been going on with this team, and they're trying to get out from underneath it. But you can only spend so much money. And that's the thing, we haven't had draft picks for like 3 years. We haven't had a first round draft pick I think in like 3 years or something like that. So you can't replace your big guys. We never replaced Bradley Chubb. We never replaced Von Miller in our pass rush. So you can't get to the pass rush. We can get there, and we got there a couple of times. We even got there against Sam Howell, and we got there against a few, but we've got guys that have less than 3 years on our pass rush. The elder statesman and Randy Gregory, we said sayonara, and he went to the 49ers this week. So, I mean, my team's a mess. That's just the best I can put it. And each week I look for something that's decent, and for once the defense was pretty good this week. So on to whoever wants.
I just want to sing in the arms of the angel. I just want to put you, isolate you on the screen and play Sarah McLachlan and go, for the price of an offensive line, you too can make a Broncos fan happy. In the arms of the angel. Anyway, Delilah. What's going? Oh my God! Hey, y'all, strap in. We just getting started. Delilah, what's going on up in Chi-Town with them biz airs?
Well, I feel like we're in the worst division. My division is like the worst, For years, people used to make fun of the NFC least, right? But then for the last few years, can't say that, But no, NFC North is bad. It's just bad. The only team that's worth watching is Detroit. And kudos to them after everything they went through. The fans wearing brown bags over their heads famously for years, right? And season. So I'm okay seeing, especially everybody feels like Detroit was cursed after they let go of Dan Campbell, right? Who was actually winning and doing all this stuff, right? That's the whole that's what people say, But anyway, so 1-5, the 1-5 Bears. And it wasn't because Minnesota didn't try to lose that game themselves. It was really bad football offensively. It's just Minnesota was slightly better offensively. But it was
both teams were really offensive.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It was just, I don't know if y'all watched it, but it was like off field goals pretty much. The whole game. Pretty much field goals. And then, Kirk got his touchdown because, he's, I'm not going to hate on him. He's not the reason that team's losing because he's always above his rating, right? He's always getting touchdowns, always over 100 passing yards, whatever. But this time, he got pressured. Like, he got sacked twice that game. Our defense was looking good. I finally maybe understand why Eberflus was a defensive coordinator. That felt like the defense actually came alive that game. And they had us in that game every time. We did not lose because of the defense, because they gave us every chance we could by putting pressure, by stopping third down conversions, by, when they would try to go for that fourth down, they wouldn't go for it. You know what I mean? So, like, our defense for the first time in weeks actually looked pretty decent. Like they were finally figuring stuff out. But our offense, we didn't start using our number one receiver until the second half. DJ Moore did not come into the picture until the second half of the game. It's
Wait a minute. This is the same dude that tore up the lead last week.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So this is where we're like, what is going on? Like, seriously. Like, why? And I didn't like what they did to I don't like the last play that Luke Getsky. I don't like Luke Getsky. Everybody's like, oh, he's from Green Bay. Well, he ain't doing nothing for us. So, he ain't doing nothing. We brought up this rookie quarterback, and he was doing pretty good. The sack on him was because our offense let their guard down. That poor kid. It wasn't his fault. But welcome to the NFL, right? Welcome to the NFL, rookie. But I liked what I saw, though. I felt like he has raw talent. He did that really nice sneak in, right, with the touchdown. Like, that was really great. Like, I love that. Like, he got it done. And so I always like seeing when rookies get their touchdowns in the NFL, especially when it's themselves, right? And they're rushing it in, and that's exciting. But then, for some reason, Getsy says, you know what we're going to do in a 1-10? We're going to do a Hail Mary pass, because why not? Because that's what you do when your team is 1-10. Call a Hail Mary pass to the end zone. And then it gets intercepted, and all you see is dejection in that poor young quarterback's face. Not his fault, because they're the ones who called it. He's listening. He's a rookie. He can't change up the play calling, right? He can't adjust. That's not what he's doing right now. This is why Chicago continues to be known as a place that just cannot take care of their quarterbacks, right? Cannot take talent and make sure that we're using it the right way. This is why everybody's like, oh, let's bomb so we can get that kid, whoever that kid is out of college. I'm sorry. You guys are who's the number one?
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah. You know what he's going to do?
Hands
he's going
off,
to
he's mine.
Nah, Caleb.
He's going to go back.
Caleb flat out said, hell no. Wait a minute. That's my prime date? No, I think I'm going to wait till next year to go to the prom. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. He said any team that he feels, and I give him props for that. If he feels he's going to go to a team that's not going to help his career, right, that is going to, instead of help him grow in the NFL, right, isn't going to give him the foundation that he needs, he said he'll stay another year, right? Who can blame him? He'll be like, forget it. I'm going back.
But the Raiders are on his yes list.
There's something about something about Vegas, right?
Well, he's a Cali kid too, though, isn't he? He grew up. He probably grew up as a Raiders fan.
It's dum-dum. He thinks he goes and he plays for McDaniels. Yeah. McDaniels might turn him into the next Tom Brady. But the rest of the team, okay. Sorry,
I agree. I mean, but the thing is that Miami's not going to have a low enough. They're doing too good, so
they're not going to take him.
Yeah, so they won't even be at the well, the thing is, Johnny, Chicago fans, you can ask them. We don't hate Detroit, so we're fine with them taking, like, there's never been like a really, like, when we play against each other, we'll, hey, yeah, whatever. But you'll never hear like the same vitriol that we have against Green Bay and Minnesota. Like, it's just different. I don't know what it is about us in Detroit, but we just, we're fine with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was so long ago. I already knew. I'm telling you. I was like, we ain't going nowhere. It's just our offense is sad. I don't believe in our coaches. It's not the players, because I saw the talent in the players. We know DJ Moore would be up there. He would be, like, on fire this season, right? As like all the other top wide receivers, if we used him like we did last week. But we didn't, and that's why we lost. We lost because we did not use the guy that got us over 100 yards last week. And so it's stuff like that. So that's why I've said, I'm like, it's the coaches. It's the coaches' fault. It is all their fault. They all need to go. Fire sale on all the coaches. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Hey, coach, if anybody got any ideas how we can beat these guys next week? I got one, coach. Why don't we do what we did last week? Throw the ball to DJ. No. We got to do something different. We need to do something different. We got to switch it up. We got to keep them guessing. Anybody else? Yeah, you in the back. Who are you anyway? I'm undrafted free agent. They sent me in here to get the trash cans, but on my way out, the dude that caught all the balls last week, can y'all throw it to him again this week? Like who are all the? No, we're not doing that this week. I told you, we trying something different, and sure enough,
I like what Nate said. Like I've thought this for a long time. I do think they need to change the rules when it comes to drafting in the NFL. I think it's the NBA that it's like the bottom are all thrown together and they pull names out, and that's the one that gets to their first or their second or third or fourth or fifth. So if you're last in the league, you don't know if you're going to get the first round draft pick.
Right.
You don't know how that's going to work. So, and tanking is just horrible. It really is. I mean, I say we're tanking just because I can't explain anything else, because I hear all this stuff from people who are like, well, Peyton's really good. And I'm not dogging on Russ. I think Russ is doing the best job he can with what he has. But they're just not scheming. It's going back to what you're saying. Like, I honestly think there's some problem with the coaches. Like, they're not scheming correctly. They're not looking at this. But it could also be because they're looking at the personnel they have and say, okay, these guys are rookies and we got this person here, but he doesn't fit this, or we needed to do that. And there's just so much going on. And one thing I was going to say is take a look at Tim Jenkins' video on, is it Badgett? However he says
Badgett, yes,
Badgett. Look at he did a clip on him on his show. It's on YouTube. It's called All Things QB. Phenomenal. He breaks down a lot of tape for on him, and he actually sees some really good things.
Yeah, I do too. I think he did great. I was so excited to see. He was passing to DJ Moore. You know, I was like, oh. But no, I loved it. I thought that kid, you know, he's got talent. You could see it, and that's what I mean. I felt so bad. Yeah, I felt so bad.
He stepped up.
I feel so bad for that last play, because I was like, that's not your fault, kid. You didn't ask for that. You're just following orders because you're a rookie. You don't have that capacity yet to go, like, maybe we don't do that.
Yeah. Well, he's learning. It's the same with rookie wide receivers and stuff. I mean, I think running backs have a little bit easier because it's usually like, we create the hole, get your butt through it type thing. Wide receivers and quarterbacks, it's a skill position along with like cornerbacks and safeties. Those are skill positions, and you need some seasoning. Everybody comes out like chicken out of the NCAA when they're in the
I like that.
And didn't we kind of touch on this last week, that the whole thing with the, I mean, it's almost a lock that if you have a hot quarterback or a hot wide receiver, that they are going to go to the absolute worst team in the league, and that team is the worst team in the league for a reason. Whether it's talent. I mean, well, I'm not even going to blame it on talent, because there's an attrition rate. There's an attrition rate from Pee Wee League to Little League, from Little League to Pop Warner, from Pop Warner to high school, and then people just start weeding themselves out as it goes. By the time you get to college, the kids that are playing in college, especially those playing at those Power 5 schools with the multi-million-dollar NIL deals, those kids are like among the top 5%. Even the bad ones are the top 5% of the football players, American football players in the United States. So you're getting, you might not be getting, okay, so maybe Jared Goff is maybe not on par with Tom Brady, but he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the country in terms of just making it to Division I football.
Yeah.
So you're taking these kids with all this talent and you're saying, hey, you were the best player in the country. We're going to stick you on the worst second you know what team in the league because they get the first pick.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do a doggone thing for your development or
right.
And sometimes it's not necessarily that the front office is bad. It's just they were contract heavy, front loaded. And all of these guys, they didn't have any money or draft picks or wiggle room to do anything. And so when all of those guys go, high kick out the back door with the Brinks truck full of money that they made, they leave a shell of a team.
Yeah.
And it's a doggone shame. I've seen too many guys come in the league and just you get them for 2 to 5 years and then they're just one and done. Or they bounce around or they get that first big contract and then they just bounce around.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to go back to like what was yesteryear, and it's something that I've always said when it comes to like these brand new rookie quarterbacks or brand new rookie wide receivers is the college game is very different if you don't play in the SEC. If you play in the SEC, that league and the NFL are pretty close to each other. So there's not going to be a large learning curve with those guys.
Yeah, that's probably the most I would say, and I'd have to get some word from OG. Didn't mean to cut you off. That's probably the most pro style conference in NCAA football.
So you're taking those guys and especially if your team is bad. Like your team is bad. You haven't had a good quarterback. You get a first run. The owners don't want to take the time to develop these guys. They don't want to take 2 or 3 years for him to sit behind someone. They want to pop them in if they can. And there's also been a trend too with some of the quarterbacks, and they shall all remain nameless, though everybody knows who I'm talking about, that don't want to help train the rookies behind them to take over for them when they retire. So
I wouldn't know any players like that.
Oh,
I mean, no. I mean,
I mean, there's a few though, not just the one we're all thinking.
I'm not saying everyone.
No. But I'm saying I know the one the three of us are thinking about, but there was a few others that also opened their mouths and said they were going to do it either.
I'm not here to train. That's not my job. That's not what I'm here to do.
There are a few. Yeah,
and not
you're right.
Everybody has an offensive coordinator brain like Peyton Manning had, or
Andy Reid,
like those guys. So I mean, we're not investing in these guys. It has to be a quick return, automatic, and that's how we get this turn on these quarterbacks that, like what you said, can go around the league for 10 years being a backup quarterback, make money for their family or whatever, and keep going for 10 years. And they make a job out of it. It's their living. I mean, Trevor Siemian is still going around the league.
He played on every team.
Teddy Bridgewater's still in the league. Like, that's that kind of stuff that it's just craziness. But I also do think that sometimes you need the right person. Because we've all had that one rookie that we were all really high on. And then it doesn't quite work out with our team, but he goes somewhere else and just goes through the roof. And that to me is just simply getting the right coach, right system. Somebody saw something that somebody else didn't see. So
that's true. That's very true. Very true. And having said all of that, I mean, what it boils down to is this week, all three of our teams were a whole bowl of suck.
Hot garbage.
For those of you just tuning in, yes, welcome to this week's Let's Talk Football, the Roundtable. And our team sucked this week, and we like to vent. Welcome to our Kumbaya session we're having here right now. After this, we're all going to go back into our yurt and have audio therapy. But having said that, we're going to keep the program moving on along. With one of our fan fave segments here. Next up, we have Miss Delilah Crespo with This Week in NFL History.
Hey, everybody. All right, so let's get going with this week in NFL history. So, all right, so I didn't go back too far this time. I went back to October 15th. But a lot of these are really like there were not a lot of modern statistics, interesting enough. All of these were from like the 1890s and 1920s. So, hey, pretty cool. All right, here you go. So, October 15th, 1884, in New York City, a football rules convention was held. One that focused on the fair catch rule. The meeting defined the fair catch as, remember, this is 1884. We know things change over time. But at this time, a fair catch made direct from a kick or throw forward or a knock on by one of the opposing sides or from a punt. That it was considered a fair catch in 1884. Again, it was defined as a catch made directly from a kick, a throw forward, a knock on by one of the opposing sides, or from a punt. So obviously some things have changed a little bit in our era of football. We're only familiar with the fair catch being used on a kick or a punt, but this is 1884 and there were other options at that time. So, but this is kind of the birthplace of that. October 15th, 1933. Another New York, but this was when the Philly Eagles played in their first NFL regular season game as they faced the New York Football Giants. And what happened was bad. But the Eagles were formed, if you didn't know, was from the remnants of a defunct Frankfurt Yellow Jackets franchise. Because remember, there were a lot of teams that came and went in the 1920s and 1930s that either became new teams or got bought out. And so that's how Philly was formed. And so anyway, they played the New York Giants. The Giants already, again, jumped to an early lead in the first quarter, 21-0. That's when they led in the first quarter in this game. And because they were beating them so bad, they decided to sit their starters and put in their replacements. Well, guess what? That didn't help any. They ended up with their replacement players beating Philly 56-0. So I'm sorry that was your inaugural game, Philadelphia Eagles. All right, moving on. October 15th, 1987. Here's something from the 80s. This is when the NFL Players Association actually ended the 24-day strike. So it officially ended October 15th, 1987. As many of you know, there was movies made about this, right? There was an infamous NFL Players Association strike. And on October 15th, 1987, that's when the 24-day strike ended because a lot of the star players were actually crossing the picket line. They just wanted to go back and play. Their teams were tanking, and those records counted. So even though there were scabs playing in the field, every time they lost, it still counted in their record. And so a lot of these star players back in the day were like, forget it, and started crossing. And so it didn't make sense for the strike to continue. Okay, so that's what happened on October 15th across all these different decades. Now let's move over to October 16th. There was only one thing I found, and this is when the Rock Island Independents traveled to Chicago to play our team, which was known at the time as the Chicago Cardinals. This is a stat that I thought was interesting. The Rock Island team manager, Walter Flanagan, sent a person to the huddle during that game onto the field and told the halfback for his team called Jim Kunzelman that he was now the new head coach and he wouldn't get more money for it. So you imagine being the halfback, Jim Kunzelman, for the Rock Island Independents. And someone sends you a message and says, hey, by the way, you're now the head coach and you're not getting more money for it. Anywho, so he became the youngest coach in the league when he took over as head coach at that time. And it's the only time right now in NFL history where there was a coaching change mid-game. So I thought that was fun. So even though it was one factoid I found, I thought that was interesting. Because I couldn't even imagine that happening today, right? Just in the middle of the game. That is just I couldn't even imagine someone running out there and be like, hey, you're the new coach. The other one's gone. Anywho. All right, so finally on to today, October 17th. All right, October 17th, 1883, another rules convention. This one discussed point totals. Again, this is in the 1880s, so you got the points were different. So they got together to decide on what actually equaled points. So scoring plays, including making a safety, at that point was only 1 point, not 2 points like today. So if you scored a safety, it was 1 point. A touchdown at that point, at that time, was 2 points only. Okay, so if you got a touchdown, it was only 2 points. If you got a safety, it was only 1 point. So if you got a goal following a touchdown, okay, that equals 4 points. Then a goal from the field was 5 points. And also, this is when the actual establishment of a referee was made. They realized that someone needed to be out there monitoring these games. So again, that's when they started actually deciding on the fundamentals of football, right? So that's why rules were happening, or rules conventions, so that people can all kind of agree and start creating football to be more uniform. Okay, so October 17th, 1891, James Naismith. People might know this guy as the man that invented basketball. Well, that's what he's known in modern times, you know. He is considered the first person to wear a head covering during a football game. And the reason he did that is because he was playing football as a center for Springfield College, and he got cauliflower ear, right? If people are familiar with football and rugby, like that happens, they're called cauliflower ears because, you know, it gets tugged on and it's really super violent. And so when he went back to play again, he was wearing a head covering. And so on October 17, 1891, James Naismith, also the first guy to kind of basically wear a helmet in football. And the last little factoid, October 17, 1920. I promise I'm not picking these out just because they're Chicago stuff. It just happens that a lot of these teams, as you know, if you've been following NFL, they've been around since the inception. So you tend to find a lot of this, like, information from like decades and decades ago of the same teams. All right. So the Chicago, at that time, they were the Decatur Staleys, played their first NFL game against the Rock Island Independents. So again, here's that name again. But the important thing is that in this game were the famous Bears, legendary Bears, Patty Driscoll, and of course, George Halas. And we won that game 7-0. We talk about low scoring games today, but that was actually pretty common. Like 7-0, 3-3, 3-0, because it wasn't really about passing, you know, in the beginning of football. So anyway, that's your This Week in NFL History.
Thank you very much, Delilah. Appreciate this segment. As I said, always a fan favorite every week. This week in NFL history. I did not know Naismith was at least a two-smith. Lord have mercy. A two-sport athlete. Very familiar with him in the peach baskets in the gym because it was cold out. But I did not know that he played. Well, I mean, you laugh, but that was how basketball. They wanted the sport to play in the winter when it was too cold to be out playing baseball and doing other things like that. So that's how basketball came about. But this is not This Week in NBA history. This is This Week in NFL history. Thank you very much, Delilah. What we're going to do right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we will be back with more of the Roundtable. Stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, Nicole, what you thinking about this Giants San Francisco game?
I have a song in my head, and I was moving so much to it, it moved my car back and forth while I was at a stoplight, and it was San Francisco, where's your disco? So I'm going with San Francisco, where's your disco? With a 22-18.
Oh, okay, so close game.
You're making us a score.
Oh, yeah.
Love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love a close game. That's what I'm talking about.
Nicole was watching, and I love that still.
I love that disco part.
That's going to be the clip of the year. I think last year or a year before was the Massive Piece of Magic and Mr. Smokey Smooth, and this year definitely San Francisco Where's It. That's the clip of the year right now, y'all. So those of you that are watching, all of you in the Let's Talk Football family and the North Sports Dynasty family and the NFL Edition family, there's a whole bunch of us that roll together. We roll deep. We like posse deep. We walk down the street like, what up, fool? What up, fool? Yo, you still wearing Jabos? That's a flag on the play, fool. Anyway, that's the clip of the year nominee right there. Foods, if you're anywhere watching, that's the clip of the year right there so far. Well, what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Let's talk football, the round table. Anthony Handy here in Oklahoma City. Tina and Delilah, both in the Windy City here, bringing you football news and commentary. I almost went into Cat Williams. I had to reel it back in because that's 15 minutes gone. We're going to move into our next segment, hosted by none other, our newest segment, hosted by none other than that lovely lady right there, Miss Tina Winter with the Corner Office.
Well, hello, everyone. And as I always say, this week the corners were good. So we're going to go into the stats that I have started putting together. So this week in NFL, based on last week's games, there were 8 safeties and cornerbacks that were tied for number 1 for interceptions in the league with 3 interceptions each. We have someone that's returning to the top 3, and we have 2 new ones. Coming in at number 1 from Houston, his name is Steven Nelson. He had 20 solo tackles, 4 assists, 5 passes deflected, and he's had 3 interceptions for a total of 33 yards. Coming in at number 2 is Darius Williams from Jacksonville. He had 20 solo tackles also. He's had 3 assists. He's also had 1 tackle for a loss. He's had 9 pass deflections. And he also has 3 interceptions for 61 yards. And getting back to the top 3 is Deron Bland from the Cowboys. So all you Cowboy fans are probably cheering somewhere. 18 solo tackles, 4 assists, 1 tackle for a loss, 7 pass deflections, and 3 interceptions for 86 yards. Now, I decided to do something interesting because this stat also kind of caught my attention too. If you're just going for a touchdown return, Bland is number 1. He leads with 2 touchdowns based off of his interceptions, and that is the top corners or the top corners of the week. Now, as you can also see, there's a little bit, we're bringing back the gambling conversation again, because a lot of people are talking about why do they have the zero tolerance law? Why is gambling allowed when they have the NFL, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to talk about a couple of cases in which you'll understand why the NFL has a zero tolerance rule when it comes to gambling. One of the first ones that they suspended for gambling is none other than Mungo himself from Blazing Saddles, Mr. Alex Karras, who's from Detroit. Other people may know him as the dad from Webster. That's how I first got introduced to him. And then my dad reminded me that I'd seen him a number of times in Blazing Saddles because I watched that show with him. Now, he got suspended by the NFL for a year because he owned a bar in Detroit called Lindell's AC Bar. And the NFL got word that there was some problems going on with that bar and that there might be some gambling and there could also be some possible organized crime issues with the bar. So at first he was going to fight it, but then he ended up taking the suspension. And he admitted that he'd been placing bets on NFL games, and he was suspended for 1 year, along with Paul Hornig, who the Packer fans are going to know who he is. He was the running back at the time for the Packers. And in 1964, when he was back playing for the Lions, he was amongst one of the people that was supposed to call the coin toss. He refused, and he said to the refs, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm not permitted to gamble. And he said, someone else is going to have to call the coin toss. Now, I'm calling this the art of gambling because our lovely OG gave me the idea for this. And I at first was like, oh, this is kind of an interesting thing. When I looked into this guy, I was like, oh, this is why we have the gambling zero tolerance policy. I am referring to the man that was drafted 4th overall in the 1982 NFL draft. He went to the Colts QB. His name was Art Schlichter. He only played 13 games and had 6 starts in his entire NFL career. He later played for the AFL. But like with the NFL, he was forced out of the AFL for gambling issues. He also served 10 years for gambling related theft that came about from a 2011 ticket swapping situation that he was doing at Ohio State games. All right. So, Art, how bad did it get? It got bad. His gambling began in high school when he would go to the horse track and bet on horses. And then by the time he was a junior in college, he was betting on college and pro sports. And as a matter of fact, when he was at Ohio State, both the Columbus police and the state police had gone to OSU and said, we think you have a problem with this guy. He's gambling so much. But OSU, and I'm not shocked by this at all, decided, hey, you know what? You don't have enough evidence. So they let it go. So he gets to the NFL. Like I said, he's drafted in 1982. I'm going to hit some of the highlights because look this guy up. It's funny. Not funny. It's tragic. But he blew his entire $350,000 bonus with the Colts by mid-season his rookie year. By the end of the 1982 strike, he had over $700,000 in gambling debts. He lost $20,000 alone his first week as a rookie. And what he kept doing is what you always hear with gambling is he kept gambling again to try and win back the money he'd already lost. From the winter of 1982 to the spring of 1983, he had a $489,000 gambling debt on basketball games. And remember, at this time, the NFL had a strict no gambling policy. You couldn't bet on anything at this time. And his bookies were threatening to expose him to both the Colts and to the NFL. When that happened, he went to the FBI and gave a testimony against the bookies because gambling was illegal in Indiana at that time. And he went to the NFL also because he feared he was going to be asked to throw games at this point. And that is why there is this zero tolerance policy when it comes to this stuff is the NFL doesn't want their players to get so far behind that they're going to end up like this guy where they're going to be asked to shave points or throw a game or do something like that. So it's a zero tolerance policy. He was initially suspended indefinitely, but then Rozelle reduced it to 13 months, his suspension. He was then reinstated in 1984, but he was released by the Colts in 1985 because there were rumors he was gambling again. Now, how he got caught on that is he made a bet with a golf partner that he lost. He wrote a check for $2,000 to the partner, asked that person not to cash it until after the season was over. And then the guy he owed the money to called the Colts up and asked them if the check was good. And that was the point at which the Colts released him. In 1987, he pled guilty to illegal gambling. And at this point, he's roaming around with the USFL, with the AFL, those kinds of things. He's playing with those guys. The Bengals were trying to bring him as a backup to Boomer Esiason at this point, but Rozelle vetoed that because of he pled guilty to illegal gambling. let's see, 1984, he was charged with embezzlement from the radio station that he was working on. And then in 2007, he gave an interview in which he said that it's estimated that he stole about $1.5 million during his entire, up to that point in his career. And at this point, he's now living in Vegas because Vegas was where you could gamble legally. Now, I alluded to that he did time in 2011. And this is at this point, he was caught gambling. He was in prison. He got caught gambling in prison. He got caught gambling in everywhere. He started a nonprofit that was supposed to help players with their gambling habits. So, like I said, look this guy up. This is why there is the zero tolerance policy that there is because this guy, I'd never heard of him. And I think the reason why I hadn't heard of him is because, well, I wasn't a Colts fan and I wasn't really watching a lot of football at this time. But I think a lot of these older gambling issues, these old suspensions, a lot of this got shoved under the table because they didn't want anyone looking into what was going on. So here's our zero tolerance policy. Here's our poster child for this issue. Okay. You're not wrong, Nathan. You're not wrong. But here's the thing. They know the rules when they sign up. They know they can't do this stuff. They're still doing it. So they're going to get suspended. So in my opinion, it's like, well, we're supposed to all follow the rules. If we're not all following the rules, then what's the rule there for? So until the NFL changes their policy on gambling, it's going to continue to be this way. I just thought this might be because there's some questions like, why are we doing this? Why is this zero tolerance? Why are they like this? Because essentially, like what I've alluded to, it's not that they don't have a problem that they want to gamble on a basketball game or stuff like that. They don't want the players to do anything that could call into question the integrity of the players, the teams, the owners, or the league. Integrity is big. Now, I try to say that with a straight face, and I can't really say it with a straight
Anthony.
Face. But that's why it is where it is. So, again, Art Schlichter, look him up on Wikipedia. It'll take you 20 minutes just to read through the Wikipedia page because it's just, I mean, his 2011 conviction, I didn't even go into that part of it. And that's just crazy. There, if you want to watch it, he actually was an episode on the show American Greed. So you can actually watch video and all of this stuff. It's nuts. The guy had an addiction. Essentially, he had an addiction. And instead of trying to treat the addiction, they just kind of kept pushing the ball down the road. All right. So that's the corner office.
No pun intended with the pushing the ball down the road. No, Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tina. With this week's corner office and top corners, we're going to keep the show rolling along. Those of you that may have just happened to wander in, appreciate you stopping by. This week's NFL, Let's Talk Football, the Roundtable. We are talking NFL football, so I wasn't all the way wrong. I was just part of the way wrong. I had the wrong 3 letters. I had 2 of the 3 letters, but not all of them, and then it was in the wrong order. So I guess you could say that my stutter is that my stutter stammering problem. For those of you that don't know me, I do have a slight stutter, slight stammer. Took lots of singing and doing voices and things like that to get it out. But sometimes it just makes its way out, and that stutter is undefeated. But unlike that stutter, all 32 teams in the NFL now have at least 1 digit greater than 0 in their loss column. And that's our segment. We're going to talk about unbeaten no more. The Philadelphia Eagles, thought to be unbeatable because of that unstoppable tush push, fall short at the Meadowlands. I said it with a straight face. I laughed at something Tina said earlier. I had to laugh off camera, but I said tush push. I said it twice with a straight face. The Jets at the Meadowlands, 20-14. The Eagles finally have a blemish on their record. Delilah, we're going to take this one your way. What are your how you feeling about what you saw on Sunday?
I feel like it was going to happen because, again, a win is a win. So I'm not hating on them winning, but they weren't like blowout games. You know what I mean? Like all these teams were actually in these games and really, really competitive, against Philly. You know what I mean? And so they always kind of just squeaked by. Like it was always like, not even by like double digits or triple digits from last season, which is fine. It doesn't mean like they're not going to still be a winning team. I just feel like when you watch the actual games, all the teams that they played against, especially those that people thought, oh, they're not that great, even those teams were really competitive. Like Minnesota was really competitive against Philly. It's just that Philly just capitalized a little more on Minnesota's mistakes. That's really what it was. But every team that Philly has competed against have been fighting back, have been able to fight back tooth and nail and really stay in these games. There's no game that Philly won so far, which I know it's a long season, but still the last few weeks that they can say they just blew out of the water, right? And so I just felt like their number was due, and it just so happened that it was this week. Like, I don't think that's going to mean that all of a sudden they're just going to, dive off the cliff, but I'm not surprised they lost. That's all.
Yeah, Tina, you been 3 interceptions for Jalen Hurts. That's very uncharacteristic. Tina, what do you got to say about that?
Well, as much as I rip on Nathaniel Hackett, the honest to God's truth is Jets have a really good defense. I mean, Whitehead and those guys, the secondary of the Jets is probably one of the best ones you can see in the league. So, I mean, 3 for him. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the game. I just kind of watched some replays of it and everything. And Jalen's spotty too. And like what Delilah was saying, I think there was a couple of games this year that I think the Eagles got a miracle or got something that went their way. And this game did not go their way. You can only make so many mistakes, and getting past 3 interceptions is really difficult to do. So
very true. Very true. I'm looking here. I also see a very telling stat. DeAndre Swift held to 18 yards. He's not a world beater. He's not going to get you 100, 150 every game. All right, this is another one of my Georgia boys here. But he would get out there and he'd bang you out a good 80 or 90 and maybe get you a couple of touchdowns. I almost said tutties and offended the OG football gods. He'd get you a couple of touchdowns during the course of the game and just held to 18 yards. 1 point. Anytime you see, this is a telling stat for the Eagles, as long as DeAndre Swift is there. If he is held to under 60 yards, and there's a good possibility that there may be a loss or close to it. I do see AJ Brown had 131 yards, but then no touchdown for him either. So don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love stats. You look back and you go, oh, such and such ran for 280 yards in a game, but did not score not one touchdown, and your team lost by 10 points. So what good does that do?
I have Swift on my fantasy team. And it got me 14 points, but when you look at it, it's not like it normally is. Philly, something happened with Philly. So what Sean's saying is they used it.
Yeah, you did.
That's where he got most of the points. It wasn't really a lot of points for touchdowns and things like that. So,
and even then, he only got 40 yards. He only got 40 yards worth of passes, worth of catches there. So, I mean, it does look like the ball was spread around quite a bit. And they got the ball in the hands of 7 different receivers, with AJ Brown, of course, with those 131. But sometimes
sometimes
you
it's
get
just
the
not
ball.
your day.
Sometimes you get the ball, and sometimes the ball gets you.
I agree.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So
what
we tear each other to pieces for that inch. That's a really bad one. That one only comes out like twice a year. Was that Pacino? Yeah, no, that I had to get. I was like, was that Pacino? That was really, really bad. Sounded like me with a throat cold. Okay, moving on to the next game. Our other, and this one was kind of a double blow. As we know, Brock Purdy has not lost a game as a starter. Had not lost a game as a starter since he got drafted. But Mr. Irrelevant now is at the helm of a team who has a loss under his captainage, as it were. The 49ers fall short 17-19. The Browns, I'm going to jump in and just say my 2 cents here. The Browns, there's a lot of things that the Browns are. They're going to live under the shadow of a certain quarterback that's no longer with them anymore for a little bit of time. They have a very just a bad history of not being so great, from being not so great to mediocre, close to good. The excitement year of Baker Mayfield, that first year of excitement with Baker Mayfield. But one thing that I can say about the Browns, I watched a goodly amount of this game. Their defense was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense was everywhere. I mean, you couldn't move. San Francisco came out and made it look like they were gonna make it look easy. And then your boy started doing his little crossover drills on the other side of on the defensive line. I said, "Oh, it's a wrap now. You made it mad. Don't make me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry." And that's exactly what happened. So, Tina, I'm going to start with you on this one. What is your input on this shocker of a game? Because I am 100% sure, I didn't see the odds before, but I'm 100% certain that the Browns were not the team that was favored to win this game.
Oh, they were not. But they took advantage of the fact that San Francisco lost Debo and they also lost McCaffrey. 2 big, huge injuries coming out of the game. You lose those guys, you've lost half your offense right there. So, not to take anything away from the Browns, I 100% believe that their defense stepped up to the plate and they hit a home run. They were all over those guys. But it's easier if you don't have to cover those 2 in some way or scheme for those guys. It opens up some situations. Now, I watched the last half of that game, and the last minute of the game was probably some of the best football I've seen this year. I thought it was great. I was rooting for the Browns. I have a friend of mine who's a Browns fan. I do root for the Browns. Well, Denver, as a Denver fan, I kind of have to, because we tended to take a lot of their defensive guys and bring them over in the 90s. So, but yeah, I mean, Purdy's, as people like to say, Purdy's going to have to pull his boots up by the strap, just move on from this game, learn what's going on. And depending on what comes out with Debo and McCaffrey, he's gonna maybe have a bit of a tougher haul for a little while. So he's gonna have to show that it's worth it for him. But he's also got the mastermind Shanahan that will scheme whatever way he needs to keep him in the hunt and keep him at the lead. So that's my thought.
Yeah. And Delilah, over to you. God, you kind of touched on where the question I was going to hand Delilah about Brock Purdy, but now that, but to follow up on what you said, with Debo out, with CMC out, we don't know how. Do we know how long yet? How long they're anticipated to be out?
CMC had to go under an MRI because it's like an oblique thing, so they're looking at that. I didn't have a chance to check on what the Debo stats was.
Okay. Well, with Debo and CMC out, it kind of reminds me of that movie. What was the movie where the kid broke his arm and all of a sudden he could throw a 200-mile-an-hour fastball?
Oh, you talking about the baseball?
Yeah, the baseball
I know
movie.
The baseball movie. Yeah, he played for the Cubs.
Set in Chicago.
He ended up on the Cubs team.
But the thing is at the end of the movie, when he steps on the ball and loses the ability to throw that gas, And old boy's like, oh, that's all you got? So now, do you get the feeling that other teams are looking at San Francisco going, oh, boys, it's time to eat now?
It's
Thank you, OG.
it's rookie of the year. Yeah. So you got it too, Sean. I love that movie. I grew up watching that movie.
I know it's not Angels in the Outfield, but I can't remember.
No,
what
but
the
I love
name
that
of it
movie
is.
too. But I love that movie too. I love both those movies. But yeah, no, that movie was hilarious to me. Anywho, but yeah. So
Yeah,
I agree with Nate. I don't. I feel like everyone still questions Purdy because of the fact that he was undrafted QB and he went undrafted, but it's like he still won. Like that was an NFL record, actually. You know, that they finally snapped a long winning streak in a regular season, okay? And he did that just coming in out of nowhere, like off the, like people are like, hey, next man up, and he did it. So, I really don't want us to start going, whoa. I just, let's the 49ers were still in that even after losing CMC and Debo.
Yep.
Just to put that out there. It wasn't like they got blown out. That was a tough football game. That was like one of those, like, everybody talks about those old school, like, rough and tumble. That's what that game was. Both defenses were getting sacks, were getting interceptions, were pressuring the offense. It was a defensive game, really. That's why you didn't see, any, flair or whatever. So,
woo!
I
tried not to do it. You said flair, and I had to woo.
Yeah, I just want us to just kind of let's look at the team as a whole. I wouldn't count out the 49ers. Like, again, this is a team that lost 3 quarterbacks and still made playoffs. You know what I mean? Like Tina was saying, somehow Shanahan just manages to cobble things together and they just work. I wouldn't take this win as all of a sudden say, oh, there go the 49ers. Don't do that. Like, we know, that man pulls out wins because he's just good at putting those plays together. So I wouldn't just discount that because he manages to just make things work somehow, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to, Sean touched on something, and this was a problem that was it kind of ran rampant through the league. It wasn't just tied to the 49ers and the Browns. He says, if Moody makes that kick, they're still undefeated. Mm-hmm. Was it me, or were there a lot of missed field goals just across the league? Just across the league yesterday. I mean, it was like, and then Moody looked at the goalpost like, did they move? Is that a regulation goalpost? Like, that was the look on his face when they did the close up on him, just looking at it. Like, yeah, bro, you missed it. It's there. So, thoughts, ladies? What's going on with the kickers and the legs? I mean, it used to be that the guys that missed the field goals were the outliers, and now we're seeing more and more guys. We're seeing a lot of guys miss chip shots.
Well, I don't think it was a chip shot. Wasn't that?
It was pretty long.
It was a pretty long
one.
So once you're above 40 yards.
Yeah, it was. I agree with Tina. I don't think for him, he's not Robbie Gould. Okay, that's what happened. If Robbie was still their kicker,
it would have been.
It would have been good as gold. That's why they would say that. So he wanted to walk. They left him walk, and now he's just hanging out because he's not playing for any other team. They should re-sign him, give him whatever money he wants, give him a 1-year extension. I mean, nothing crazy for a kicker, but I'm 95% sure Robbie would have made that goal. It would have been different outcome.
I also think it's kicking. Everybody thinks like kicking is just like, oh, you get there, you do it, it's fine. No, there's so many things that go into it. Like, how far are you to the left or to the right? I mean, we hear about the announcers talking like, well, they need to get like 5 more yards, but they really need to get more like to the middle of the field. So their kicker will be better. This guy's a lefty. This guy's a righty. Mm-hmm. There's so much science in kicking that it's like, but owners and coaches sometimes treat them like interchangeable pieces, and they're not. like Gold is not, you can't replace Gold. Zurline I would put up there, but he's gone, he's kind of coming down a little bit. And like, that's why these kickers keep the contracts that they get for so long, like Tucker and some of those guys, because the young guys don't know all of this. Like I've read kicking in Candlestick Park can be problematic because it tends to get crosswinds going. And if you're dealing with crosswinds, it changes where you got to kick it, how you got to kick it, and where you're going. So, yeah, let's see.
Sean's agreeing with you, but I'm just saying, I mean, statistically, I'm going by statistics on Gold, actually, not just like, I didn't say any kicker.
Yeah.
That was Robbie. You're right. Not just any kicker, but statistically.
Robbie, is Robbie Mr. Double Doink?
That was
no,
that was Parker. Parky. We got rid of him. No,
we had Parker too.
Gold was gone before that. No, he wasn't the double doink. Shoot, we loved Robbie, but I don't blame him for moving on to San Francisco. We weren't going anywhere.
Gotcha.
I got you. I'm following you. Okay.
I mean, in Denver, we loved Prater because he knew how to kick in that high altitude, and he could boot the hell out of the ball. So. I mean, I think it's also kind of true with special teams because they have to have 53 people roster. They have to have a 53 roster and all of this. I think it's also true with special teams coaching. I think a lot of teams are not putting as much emphasis in that part of the game anymore because it's rote. Like, oh, well, if it goes here, we're now going to let you kick from the 25 versus you start at the 25 or the 30 or all of that. And some of that coaching, the coaching you used to be able to have for those kinds of positions is maybe not up to what it was 20, 30 years ago, or even longer. That's just my thought on it. I've always thought special teams coaching is not what it used to be. So, I mean, you see it. It used to be that's how linemen got on teams and how running backs got on teams was they were undrafted. On the
punt returners teams, and kick returners,
they would get that kick return or some kind of stop, and they would earn their spot onto the actual team. And you don't see that a lot anymore. So, I mean, I'm sure we all can name somebody off of our teams from yesteryear that was on special teams that then made the team, and then they were a star.
Truth.
Yep.
Truth. Well, that there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. No more unbeaten teams in the league. Well, and somebody said the 72 Dolphins had popped the cork. I don't believe that. God, are there any of those guys still alive? That's another talk. That's another topic. It's another topic for another day. Mercury Morse. Larry Zonka.
See something.
Larry Zonka. Anyway, we're gonna jump to a commercial. Real quick commercial. We will be right back. Do not go anywhere. Let's talk football. The Roundtable will be right here. Right here.
We are back for Bo.
Yeah! He's a rookie. He's also half Puerto Rican. I don't know if y'all.
You already know what time it is.
Someone like Haydenhurst is coming out, and I feel like we're not alone. On our show too, as well, we're all about mental health and awareness.
Yes.
Off and on the field.
That, ladies and gentlemen, that's Let's Talk Football. The ladies take over on Thursdays. Delilah, tell the good folks what time y'all come on.
Thursdays at 8:30 Eastern.
Right here. The ladies take over. It's a great show. These ladies gel very well together. Listen, just take my word for it. It's a great show, boo boo. Go ahead and check it out. Before I go too far off into that impersonation, we're gonna get into our next segment, which is ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Like we went somewhere. The commercial was a little bit ago. I am, as I have mentioned earlier, my name's Anthony. I'm here in Oklahoma City, Wind, Plain, blah, 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 with this week's Rookie Spotlight. Now, y'all know what my favorite team is. Y'all know what my favorite team is. You know where I'm from. I talk about it all the doggone time. My favorite team has won 2 consecutive national championships. And I've already talked about one of the players that got drafted, but there's one particular player that always gets overlooked, or he used to get overlooked when they talked about all the other great players on the team. Now, this guy he's gotten an opportunity to let everybody see that he should not have been overlooked. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about none other than, and it depends on what you call him, which name you call him by, as to how his hair is cut. And I believe right now he hadn't had a haircut in a while, so we'll call him by his government issue, Mr. Stetson Fleming Bennett IV. Yes, his middle name is Fleming. I did not know that. That's a little piece of information I did not know. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, so Georgia born, Georgia bred. Both of his parents went to the University of Georgia and graduated from the University of Georgia. All he wanted to do was play for UGA his entire life. All he wanted to do was play for UGA his entire life. Wound up coming on the program as a walk-on in 2017. Didn't get any playing time that year, but then there's some kid that committed to Georgia for the following year. I forgot what his name is. He played for some team. He played for some team in some windy city. Justin Fields, that kid, that guy. He wound up committing to the University of Georgia, and Stetson Bennett said, "I'm not hanging around. I'm going to go play junior college ball." So he transferred to Jones College. During his time at Jones College, he played in all 12 games, threw for 16 touchdowns, 1,840 yards. That was in his sophomore season. He was in Cajuns, but he wound up coming back to Georgia. And after Justin Fields decided that he was transferring to Ohio State, Georgia offered Stetson Bennett a scholarship. He was the second-string quarterback behind Jake Fromm. Of course, you all know the rest of the story. The 2018 National Championship, 2nd and 26 against Alabama with Jake Fromm at the helm. The following year, Jake Fromm came in, wasn't quite so great. There was a little bit of they did make it back to the championship game, and he got hurt. Bennett came in, played a couple times there. He got to play in garbage time games. Then in 2020, when it seemed like he was sure to get the starting job, they just kept going back and forth between him and this tall, lanky transfer kid that kind of looked a little bit like Val Kilmer in Tombstone by the name of JT Daniels. And the two of them just back and forth. And then a third wrench in the pudding. I know I got my sayings mixed up, but just work with me here. DeJuan Mathis comes in. DeJuan Mathis comes in, is named the starter, and the planned starter, Jamie Newman, opted out. He decided he didn't want to play. He's going someplace else to play. DeJuan Mathis is named the starter, gets himself in a little bit of trouble. JT Daniels takes the starting job. I hope you all are keeping up. This was like a big game of Russian roulette. So 2021 rolls around. JT Daniels is now locked in as the starter. He gets hurt. Guess who comes in? That's right. The kid nobody wanted. The kid with the curly fro. The kid with the parents that graduated from the school. The kid who wanted to play there all his life comes in, starts playing, never rides the pine again, takes the Dogs all the way from that game to the national championship and a national championship win over none other than the Alabama Crimson Tide. Sorry about that, Tides fans. We have been hanging on to that one for about 3 years. We owed you that one. We cool right now, but we owed you that one. The following year, he comes back. He is now the heir apparent. Nobody even remotely challenges him for his job, and he leads the team to yet another national championship. And of course, you know, he's got his supporting cast in Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. But this is not a college show. This is a pro show. Those guys are still playing. We'll talk about them at some point next year, maybe. I'm almost sure of it. But we're talking about Stetson Bennett. He finished the season with 4,127. I stopped to emphasize 4,127 passing yards. The reason that is a significant what in the hell? The reason that is a significant number is because that number broke a record that was previously held by none other than Aaron Murray, who some people considered, who a lot of Georgia fans considered to be possibly the greatest prior to Stetson, possibly the greatest quarterback to ever lace him up and play. And that includes over people like Fran Tarkenton, Hall of Famer Fran Tarkenton, things of that nature. But Aaron Murray, I watched the kid play. He was a phenomenal quarterback. He was an absolutely phenomenal quarterback. He broke Aaron Murray's record. Everything that people said this kid couldn't do, he did. And then some to the nth power. He wound up being so impressive during his college career that some team out on the West Coast who already happened to have a quarterback who also was a quarterback at the University of Georgia decided to pick him up in the 4th round, the Los Angeles Rams. Now, right now, he is on non-football injury reserve. We don't have a lot of details on what that is about. But I watched this. We literally watched this kid come up. Colin and I, for those of you who remember my co-host on my Monday show, we talked about this kid like, yo, this kid is bomb. Did you see that dime he dropped? Coming in and playing for garbage time behind Jake Fromm, behind JT Daniels. I have watched this kid literally grow up as a college player for his entire college career. And I cannot wait to see him get under center and actually get cut loose in a real game. He's not a world. Now, here's some of the things I like about him. I did a whole bunch of talking about his college career because, I mean, he managed to do the thing that no other quarterback could do for 41 years, which is win another national championship since 1980. He's not very fast. He runs the 4.6, 740, which is roughly a 4.7 for those of you that like to round up. For those of you that do the Common Core math, that's like for those of you that grow up in the hood that like to lie on how good you are, that's actually a 4.1. That means you faster than Usain Bolt. But I digress. He's not very fast, but he's very elusive. He can read. He reads defenses very well. He sees blocking, breaking down. He knows what hold. The A gap, the B gap, wherever. Boom. He takes off. He's gone. And about 7 times out of 10, if you're in a goal-to-go situation with short yardage, he's going to get that ball across the goal line. This kid literally does not have an ounce of quit in him. I mean, anybody else, a lot of other people we know of that have gone to other schools. JT Daniels has disappeared into obscurity, is now at Temple University. DeJuan Mathis has given up playing a quarterback altogether. I think I saw that he's trying to transfer back to Georgia as a wide receiver. And Jake Fromm, as we know, did get drafted, but I think he's either on a practice squad. I think he's sitting on a practice squad somewhere. This kid does not have an ounce of quit in him. You can't do this. You're too short. He does it. You can't do this. You're not fast enough. He does it. You're not a good enough quarterback to lead this team to a national championship. He does it. So I want to see the Rams give him the reins and the keys to the car when the time comes and see what our boy. Now, when he gets a haircut, I have to preface this because I mentioned this earlier. When he gets that tight fade and it's all down there and it's looking like he want to be one of the co-stars of Malibu's Most Wanted, he goes by the name of Quavius Bennett the Fifth. F-I-P-H Fifth. That's the name we gave. Don't ask me why we gave him that name on the show. It just sounded good, and everybody started picking up on it. But anyway, I digress again. This guy, great play, incredible player. If you don't know who he is at this point, you didn't watch college football the last couple of years. I can't wait to see him. I say this about all these players, but of all of them, I cannot wait to see this kid play ball. I want to see him ball out. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's Rookie of the Week, Stetson Bennett IV of the Los Angeles Rams.
That was good. Sorry, I don't know what happened. The camera flipped briefly, but I flipped it back. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was tripping on. I looked over and all I could see was,
oh my God.
I looked over.
I wasn't even touching the thing. I was like literally over here, but whatever. Anyway, we fixed it. We got it.
I was doing a bad. See, before the show, what y'all don't know is Delilah and I had plotted to do this ventriloquism bit, but I didn't give her the script. I didn't tell her I was gonna go off script, so she didn't. She just she was sitting there when I was running my mouth. So we gonna have to work on that. But I didn't do too bad at first. Anyway, thank y'all. Rookie of the Week. And having said all of that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the show where we have our last segment, One Last Thought. This is where it can be funny, it can be sentimental, it can be touching, it can be about a cause. But ladies, being a gentleman from the South, I am a firm believer in ladies first. And Tina, I think I passed it to you first last time. So Delilah, I'm going to pass it back to you. Can you give us your one last thought for the week?
No, I just want to say, again, I like doing these shows with the two of you and the three, of course, and Sean in the background always helping us out. I love that, we have 4 hosts, but I appreciate that Sean is always there for us at a moment's notice. I appreciate every time he jumps in and helps out. When I had a blackout, he jumped on, you know what I mean? And so just want to show my appreciation for you, Tina, for Anthony, for Nick. Nick, I'm praying for you and your loved one. I hope they pull through to a speedy recovery. And I love my Thursday show with the ladies too. It's just, it really does help me break away from a lot of, I love my job, but it is stressful, right? Because it is a job. It's really stressful. And so this makes me, take a break and have a good time and just talk football with everybody. The audience, thank you so much for participating and commenting. But I just want to say I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you watching. Sean, I appreciate you. I think you're the bomb. Taking it back to 90s slang. I think you're the bomb. And so but there you have it. Showing my appreciation to everybody. And that's it.
Thank you, Delilah. Tina, your last thought, please. The password is final thought.
Well, I got a couple final thoughts. I never just have one thought. I have many thoughts. I just have to get it down in my head to just one that people can make sense of instead of 25 in 2 seconds that I normally do. One, thoughts and prayers out to Nick and his family, and hopefully his brother gets well very quickly. 2, I'm going to be at the game on Sunday, the Bears game. Yes, I will be at the Bears game. I'm hoping me being there will allow the Bears to win because I really, really want them to beat the Raiders. And 3, just smile, just have a good time, enjoy your week. Like Delilah said, and we've all said on this show, this night allows me to get away from everything. My cell phone, though I am looking things up during the show and stuff like that. But my family knows not to text me. My friends know not to text me. The phone goes on silent. Work is off, all that stuff. and I get to sit here and chit chat and amuse myself with 3 wonderful people. So, all that being said, it's up to you, Handy, for the final sign off.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and add my as the preachers say, wherever 2 or 3 of you would touch and agree. So I will go ahead and be the third to say I do thoroughly. I do a couple of shows. I do one on Monday with the homie Colin, and I love that one because I love talking about my dog. I love it. Sometimes I'll go out the house wearing some Georgia paraphernalia, just hoping somebody will ask me something to say something about the dogs. I wind up just giving them all the history lessons that I can give them. I mean, even the thing about the ring the bell, I did a whole segment about why the chapel bell and where it came from and blah, 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 somewhere on YouTube. I love sitting here and cutting up with you guys because Nick and I think we play off each other. Sometimes he plays off me, sometimes I play off him. And the 2 of you are just absolutely amazing. Nick and I do a lot of and you ladies, like, you got stats and stat sheets and spreadsheets and access tables and all kinds of stuff. And as you can see here, this is why Art Schlicker was not allowed to play football, because he gambled too many times, and he went over to Alex Karras's bar after Alex had put Webster to bed. And this is what I love how organized the 2 of you are. I'm gonna jump out of this segment for 1 second, Mr. Spencer. Just to correct that, the Dogs have 4 titles. Thank you very much. Don't forget about 1942. And Alabama has way more than 6. That's just the 6 that Nick Saban won. I'm giving Alabama some props here. I'm not throwing shade. I just wanted to make sure that we got that straight. But yeah, Alex Karras and Webster in the drawer with the stuff and the spreadsheets. I love this. Yeah, because I literally, all 3 of us, literally the 4 of us, after work, come in, sit down, and sometimes it would be so easy just to sit down on the couch and go to sleep and text you guys and go, I can't do this tonight. But yeah. I do this weekly because I enjoy it. Like right now, I'm having a blast. I absolutely am. And sometimes we get going and it's like, we get going sometimes so hard on this show that we have to end the private chat, be like, we got to end this segment or we're going to be on till 2 a.m. So like that right now, I'm gonna go ahead and reel in all these other thoughts and all this verbal diarrhea that I got going on before we wound up pushing the envelope. But my thought of the week, and I come out with this one a lot. My thought of the week is I'm going to put a challenge out there. I'm going to challenge every one of you that are watching this show, whether you're watching it live right now, whether you're watching the replay later, which we know Sean will do about 9 times before he goes to bed. Whether you're watching this and you're catching a replay and it's 2026, 2027, 2028. If do your boy solid. Pick up your phone. Call someone. Call somebody you haven't talked to in a while that you really care about and let them know you love them. Take just them couple of seconds to say, hey, just one, even if it's just, hey, look, I don't have a lot of time. I can't be talking right now because actually I'm on the freeway doing 85 miles an hour and I shouldn't be on my phone and I don't have hands-free because it's a 72 Datsun B210 and don't have Bluetooth or nothing. I just wanted to let you know that I love you very much and I miss you. And I know we don't talk a lot, but I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you and I love you. Because you don't ever know what someone is going through in their life. I found that out. Ladies, if y'all got a minute after, I know Tina, sometimes you have to go, but you got a minute after, I'll share it with you. But sometimes you don't know what someone is going through in their life. And sometimes that might be the thing that keep them from doing the thing that they know that they shouldn't do, but they really want to do because they're feeling some kind of way. And listen, this is not that I hope that didn't come out sounding dark. That's not where I'm going with that. For those of you that are going there. But yeah, the thing that they managed to stay away from and fight from, they're thinking about doing, and you may be the one to steer them away from that, or they just may have been having a bad day, and you were just the remedy to bring a little sunshine into that day and give them the pep to get through the day. So pick up your phone, call somebody. Well, it's 2023. Text them and go, hey, you mind if I call you real quick? And then get on the phone with them and be like, hey, I was thinking about you, Bob. Didn't do that part. Because yeah, you don't ever know. And that's it. That's all I've got. I'm gonna shut up now because I talk a lot. My mama say I talk way too much. And I used to say, no, I didn't, but I'm 53 years old right now. And Mom, if you happen to catch this, you were right. And it's on video, so you have it for posterity. Your son finally said you was right about something, as much as I said, nah, you're right. So having said that, I think we are at the end of the show, unless anybody has anything else for the good of the crowd. We will be back next week. Brother Rosario, Mr. I Want to Smoke, we love you, brother. We hope that everything turns out well, and we'll be reaching out to check on you here momentarily. So on behalf of my lovely co-hosts, Mr. Lila Crespo, Miss Tina Winter, we are Let's Talk Football, the Roundtable. Y'all take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.